It's Sunday night, 9 o'clock. Welcome to All Lacrosse Live. I'm Gary Groob here in Toronto. And with me, as always, I have Shawn Slaght over in Moose Jaw. Shawn, how are you?
Doing pretty good. Thanks, Gary.
Great. And I have Muffler Mike over in Connecticut. Mike, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
Well, guys, we've got a bunch of news and all kinds of games. And WLA is now into playoffs. And we have stuff to schedule about that. And, all kinds of fun stuff. Should be a fun hour. Can't wait to talk about the NLL because, they're always exciting. They're making news even without making news, if you know what I mean. Anyways, just before we get rolling, just to remind everybody that all of our shows are streamed live across Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and also Twitch. And you can catch all the action on eopsports.com. Remember to hit the subscribe, follow, and like buttons. Always share. Please enjoy our affiliates, which you can see are many. This week is a lot like last week. Scheduling-wise. If you've missed a show, no worries. Please grab all the podcasts and all the major podcasting companies, which include Amazon, iTunes, Google Play, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, and so much more. You can also catch it on the EOP YouTube page, or if you're looking for our stuff in particular, you can catch it on the All Across All the Time YouTube page, which has retro games, interviews, library of shows, interviews, fights, all kinds of things there. Remember, you can stay up to date with all sports by visiting eopsports.com with great articles from our huge staff of contributors. While you're there, please subscribe to our newsletter. Just a reminder also for Lacrossing Barriers, their camps are coming up this week, August 6th to 9th, and one at the end of the month as well. If you're looking for any programs whatsoever from them or what cities they're in, email Scott at lacrossingbarriers.org, and he will give you all the information that you need to stay informed. Remember, these camps and these programs are all abilities and all possibilities, designed to allow anyone who chooses to learn, laugh, and play. The camps are there to guide everyone who comes to participate in the way they need. Excellent programming, lots of great stuff, really, really needed. And they're terrific. And anything you need, they're ready to give you the shirts off their backs. So, as you can see, I'm gilled up in my Victoria Shamrock stuff. Very proud of these guys. First time in history, an 18-0 season. But we'll talk more about that in a little bit. Right away, let's bring up this NLL thing. As we talked about last week, free agency, which was supposed to take place August 1st, has been held off a few weeks because, apparently the Panther City team is looking for new ownership. Now, whether they move, whether they have new ownership and stay, or whether they fold is anybody's guess at the moment. We've heard speculations. We've heard innuendos. We've heard all kinds of things that are unsubstantiated by anything, and we really can't give any credence to it because we can't substantiate any of it. But we do know that other ownerships are being sought, and what the league is going to do is, out of our hands right now. But some of the scenarios, of course, if they do fold, will be a dispersal draft, which will make things a lot more interesting, hence holding back on free agency, because if you're going to disperse, your needs change. Mike, let's start with you. Your thoughts on all this stuff that's going on, and can you make heads or tails out of this?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously it's disappointing news that the franchise is looking to, either sell or, then there's possibility that they might move, despite all the talk about, the lack of attendance, the they got a pretty good club on the floor there, they were a few bounces here and there really from finishing as high as, third in the league, which certainly could have changed, how the playoffs went.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, they took San Diego, I believe, to overtime in the playoffs before losing. So that landscape certainly could have changed. And I would imagine they're going to retain. They were planning on retaining most of their players for next year.
Yeah, that's the odd thing. Like a day or two before this, and all the offers were sent to everybody. So very, very strange how this all of a sudden crept up out of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, if we have a dispersal draft, I mean, how much does that change? For pretty much everyone.
Yeah.
Well, that will
A
change
lot.
everything because
Yeah, a
needs
lot.
will change entirely.
Yeah,
Uh,
and obviously I'd say the biggest impact it would have would be on the speculation that Christian Del Bianco's possibly wants to go to Vancouver or will get traded to Vancouver. Or
Well, that's the other thing I want to bring up, and I want to bring it up with Shawn, is the Del Bianco situation, as you brought up, putting up the franchise tag. Well, that's happened. They put the franchise tag on Del Bianco. He can't refuse it, so it's on there. So if he doesn't choose to play for them, they're going to do to him what they did to Westberg and make him sit for a year.
Yeah, because that's my understanding. Is that's the situation, right? As long as he has that franchise tag, his rights remain with Calgary, whether he's signed or not. And so the other option is you trade his rights, or he sits for a year until that franchise tag is expired.
Yeah, and like I say, in the prime of your career, that's not exactly what you want. Though I think he's got a big enough name that he can survive that little sitting for a year. Though it's unfortunate.
Yeah, at the same point, I mean, there's that relationship with Miloski too. Where I can't see Kurt sitting on his hands, just waiting this one out.
Now I'm watching Lannick Bells, I'm watching Aiden Walsh, and how does this make him feel?
That's the other thing is what's the price tag on this, right? And that's hard to tell. And I go back to the Chris Dixon trade and how much was given up. Now all of a sudden you have no idea what a guy like Christian Del Bianco is worth because we saw how much was given up for a guy kind of on the downside of his career in Curtis Dixon. It puts the value of a player all out of whack when it comes to how much player's worth in a trade.
Well, it's also, you look at Calgary and you want to talk about depleted. You got rid of your transition guy. You may not have your all-star goalie, and you got a guy who's definitely on the downside of his career if he even plays all the games.
Yeah,
and this is, maybe they are hoping for a dispersal draft over in Calgary.
Well, that's the other thing too. Is you looked at that Calgary team; they really lived and died by that long transition ball of Christian Del Bianco. You'll lose that, and like you said, they lose a lot of speed, and they lose that transition with Shane Simpson and Zach Currier. Where do you go from there? Yeah, like you said, they're probably hoping for a dispersal draft so that they can fill up the coffers again.
Yeah, Tosh Maderos look real good there, wouldn't he?
Oh yeah.
Well, the only monkey wrench I want to throw into that is, dispersal draft would be last to first.
Yep, as usual.
Selection order.
Yeah, it means Colorado gets first pick.
Yeah, and what it also means for Calgary, who could be looking, if it's not going to work out with Del Bianco and there is a dispersal draft, now you're looking at Nick Damoud.
Yeah, that's the name is definitely
squarely. You're squarely
yep.
looking at your top three your top three priorities.
Well, really good to have you with us. Sorry you're with the flu.
Hey, Eduardo, thanks for tuning in. I should say your top two priorities, because you got to figure there's roughly 30 guys on the roster, 30, somewhere between 28 and 34 guys. But some of those guys I think are on the draft list. They may or may not be signed. I would have to think anyone who's on like an active roster, practice roster, even injured reserve, but not on, say, holdout or draft list, is going to be available.
Yeah.
That the league might just take anyone on a draft list, on a holdout list, say, okay, hey, look, you guys are you're street free agents now.
Yeah. And I was going to say, back to your point with Damoud, the other interesting part about that is now all of a sudden if Calgary picks him up, that really brings up the price tag on Christian Del Bianco now, doesn't it? Because as it sits right now, Calgary needs a goaltender.
They
But
do. They
now
do.
if
Well,
they have demoted. Sorry, Mike, but if they have demoted, now all of a sudden they're not as desperate to unload Del Bianco.
true. The only snag with that is Vancouver picks one spot ahead of them if you go last to first.
Would you think that Molosky would waste a pick to do that?
I
Yeah,
don't know
they're looking at
because
Because
Jaden
they have
Walsh.
3 goalies already,
Yeah.
right?
yeah, but then it becomes a question of how much faith do you have in Aiden Walsh? I mean, he's had a pretty decent summer. He had a slow start to the summer, but he had a pretty decent summer.
But is it ready to put Connor O'Toole in that position yet?
Right. I don't think so. But I guess on the flip side for Calgary, if you don't end up getting Nick Demude because someone got him before you did, you have some pretty decent transition guys on Panther City. You've got Josh Medeiros, you've got Liam Patton, you've got Dylan Hutchison that you could kind of use to fill that void left by the trades of Zach Courier and Shane Simpson.
Right. Well, just to show like the kind of silliness that went on in the NLL when that announcement happened, there was a frenzy of signings and offers and things like that. Why don't we just pull that up? Vancouver signed Steph Charbonneau, qualifying offer to Adam Charlemagne-Beatties. Saskatchewan signed Ryan Barnable, Keegan Bell, Jared Smith to 1-year agreements. Philadelphia, Isaiah Davis-Allen to a 3-year agreement. Halifax made a qualifying offer to Johnny Pearson. Georgia signed Brendan Bombery. Calgary, qualifying offer to Thomas Hogarth. Qualifying offer to Reese Calais. Qualifying offer to Tyler Pace. Franchise tag on Del Bianco, as we talked about. Buffalo signed Evan Konstantopoulos. Albany with Patrick Kostiuk. We move into the next day, which is, I believe, just about the last day of it. Warriors signed Jackson Subak to a 3-year agreement. Vancouver also signed Braden Lady. San Diego signed Trevor Baptiste to a 3-year agreement. Rochester signed Thomas Whitty, Taylor Jensen, and Curtis Knight. Philadelphia signed Dalton Young, Brandon Hund 1-year agreements. Also, put him on the active roster. Signed Stone Jacobs as well and put him on the actual active roster. Vegas Desert Dogs signed Casey Jackson and Kyle Killen. Georgia again signed Andrew Q. The Mammoth made a qualifying offer to Tyson Gibson and Ryan Lee. Buffalo signed Paul Dawson. Now, that was one that got my attention because we really thought that Dawson was going into the sunset, win that last championship. And, well, I guess he feels he can still add. So pretty soon it's going to be the geriatric Bandits. But they keep winning. So, Albany signed John Piatelli. And then, of course, July 31st, the last day before this freeze on free agency. And again, Vancouver with Aiden Walsh. There you go. And Marcus Claret. Toronto made news with Corey Small, Latrell Harris, Bill Hostrauser, Mark Matthews, and Nick Rose to agreements. They also put the franchise tag on Mark Matthews. Saskatchewan. We'll get into Mike Mallory's little statement for being retired in a minute. San Diego, Graydon Bradley. Rochester signed Jake Pizzeno, Graydon Hogg, and Jack Boyden to 1-year agreements. Philadelphia signed Nick Rowlett, Ryan Wagner, and Mitch Armstrong to 1-year agreements. And Panther City, here's another one that makes me scratch my head, offer Callum Crawford the franchise tag. Right? If they're not going to be around. So all kinds of different mixed messages we're getting all over the place, yeah? Ottawa signed Riley O'Connor and Cam Dunkerley to 1-year agreements. Vegas signed Shane Simpson and Landon Kells. They've made a huge splash in the offseason. Sean Williams is going for broke in this one by the looks of things. Halifax signed Kalen Mander to 1-year agreement, placed him on the active roster. Also signed Drew Hutchison to a 1-year agreement. Colorado signed Tyler Garrison, made a qualifying offer to Dylan Kinnear. Calgary signed Dan Taylor to a 2-year agreement. Also Jack Posey to a 1-year agreement. Buffalo signed Justin Martin, Steve Priolo, Matt Spanger, and Nick Weiss to 1-year agreements and 3-year agreements. And Albany signed Doug Jameson, Joe Nardella, and Zach Mason to different agreements as well. So lots of stuff going on, and all before they would normally be done. Takes a lot of them off the table for free agency, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It definitely does. And the 29th, right? So
Yeah.
everything's kind of frozen until the 29th.
Yeah, frozen for the next 4 weeks, yeah. And then the frenzy begins just before the entry draft, which will be about a week and a half after that. Because, like I said last week, it doesn't affect newbies coming in. Just one less place to go if it's not there. So, I don't know. It's a strange position that the league's in, because the last thing they want to do is have a team fold after a team has just moved. It's bad enough if a team has to move secondarily to another team moving. But if a team up and folds, that really puts them in a spot when you're trying to sell the league as a stable, we're the fourth big thing.
Yeah.
And you got
And like you said, Gary, sorry.
Folding.
Like you said, Gary, like the mixed messaging is what's really confusing. Like you said, they threw a franchise tag on Callum Crawford. We've seen them actually making posts on their social media not that long ago. It's very mixed messaging in what's going on, and the silence is almost deafening.
Well, yeah, and then I say the season ticket holders are saying they can't get a hold of anybody and whatever. So, again, it just doesn't make any sense. And the longer it draws out, excuse me, is the less time that they have to do anything to get butts in seats. So unless you want to have a repeat and have an empty arena game in and game out, you need the time to get it done. New York did it right, even though it sucks for the New York fans, announcing midway through and starting to work with Ottawa and the hockey team to start getting butts in seats. They have more season tickets now than they ever did. And that's just, it's a time thing, whether people would come on right away or not, I don't know, but if it's a time thing, if you give them an opportunity and some time, and they can decide and do it, even for single game walk-ups, right?
Yeah.
Which is also when they introduced the jerseys, and pretty smart looking jerseys as well. So, everything is rolling as it should over in Ottawa, whereas the other stuff, and then of course you get all the, the guys are going to say teams are going to move to Grand Rapids, which makes no sense in any respect. Going to keep making comments of where it's going to go and what they've heard. I guess their hairdresser was talking again to them or something, and their former pet dog from the grave was giving them messaging or something. Nothing surprises me anymore. What I've read and what I've seen, and from people who would never hear from before, during, or after. Everybody gets their 2 seconds of fame.
I was going to say, people who don't obviously understand the business model, of the NLL. So that was kind of started by Nick Skevich when he was commissioner, and this first wave of expansion happened. So,
and they've stuck with it. And Brett Fruit has said it when he took over. Expansion wasn't on his horizon. He wanted to stabilize all the franchises that we had before thinking about adding more. And he was steadfast on that, because I had him on a couple of different shows and asked him at different times, and we still got the same resolve. And he's been straight that way with it. And he's, just take a look, at how the league is shaping up. Georgia's picking up. Now in Ottawa, that attendance is going to be picking up. I would like to think that now with Panther City, if it is a move, it'll be closer to Dallas, so it stays in area. And, people still have an opportunity just with a bit wider variety of demographics than just, say, in the Fort Worth area, which is rodeo area, gun show area. Yeah. Eduardo's been there a number of times and reported back to us that right next door there's a gun show going on, and they had to clear out for the rodeo that was in there the day before. So, as stereotypical as it sounds, it's true. And, that's what the area is based on. So to sit people inside to watch box lacrosse when they have no idea what box lacrosse is a tough sell.
Yeah,
So,
and I brought up once before too. I remember the one game they had a rodeo the night before, and even the announcers were just saying how the arena reeked
yeah, that's
because of this
another thing
rodeo,
that
and
we don't.
that just doesn't look good. And why would you want to go and watch a game when all you're smelling is, for lack of a better term, manure? Like,
Yeah, or the residual effects of. Yeah, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, does it? So, I'm hoping, we'll say, people higher up in the echelons than us are making the right decisions, and that's probably why this is best done behind closed doors. You don't want to be doing this in the public because, again, everybody's got their 2 cents to say, and right now it's kind of died to a lull. Everybody's said all they can possibly say about it, and they're all out of ideas, which didn't take very long. So we'll let them figure it all out, and I'm sure in due process of time in the next week or two, we will have all the news that we need, all the information that we need. It's not about we can scoop them by who cares? Let's just get it right and get this team in the right spot.
Yeah.
And then the league can keep flourishing. And then maybe they will start expanding again. Instead of going, oh yeah, I heard it was going to go to St. Louis, or it's going to go to, it's going to go to Nashville, or all right, that's enough speculation nonsense.
yeah,
You can, gee, I wish it would go. Would probably be the line there. I'd like to see it go to Edmonton, to tell you the truth. But hey, or Winnipeg. I'm sure both could support it very well. If not putting it in Laval or Quebec City. But hey, that's just my Canadian speaking. But anyways, just before we move on, just want to remind everybody that this part of the show is brought to you by Sherry's Tickets.
Great moments don't just happen, they happen with you in the crowd. Sherry'sTickets.com is easy to use and has no hidden fees. The price you see is the price you pay. Pay less, play more with Sherry'sTickets.com and get the tickets you want. Save even more by using the exclusive promo code EOP10 and share an experience that will live on. Don't pay hidden fees and save 10%. Why use any other ticket reseller and get those hard-to-come-by tickets to the big game? If you need a more personal touch, give them a call at 610-494-5050. Sherry'sTickets.com also has great theater and concert tickets that are hard to get your hands on. Remember, don't overpay with the rest and save with the best at Sherry'sTickets.com. For that next great moment, save 10% by using the promo code EOP10. Great moments start at Sherry'sTickets.com.
Absolutely. And you can use that anywhere. I've tried it over here and it works over here in Toronto. So give it a look. Sherry'sTickets.com. Also use the EOP10 code and save yourself 10%. All right, let's get over to doing some junior. Shawn, let's start out in the West. And we're well into playoffs now, aren't we?
Yeah. Actually, before that, I was going to quickly jump to the this weekend started the IIJL World Junior Championships. I'll just quickly go into it. Scotland in day one defeated Australia 19-7, as well as the United States defeated Poland 24-6. And then this afternoon, Canada defeated Scotland 19-5. And on right now, I'm just going to see if I can get an updated score. We have the United States is leading Australia 18-2 right now. So that is ongoing. And then over to the BC Junior A. We're into the finals of Port Coquitlam against Coquitlam. Best of 5. And Coquitlam right now has a 2-0 lead, and they can end it tomorrow night. Wednesday, they started the series with Coquitlam beating Port Coquitlam 9-7. And then actually an exciting one on Friday night. Coquitlam has actually ahead 4-1 after 2 periods. Port Coquitlam came back to outscore Coquitlam 6-3 in the third to send it to overtime. But in overtime, it was 4-1 with Coquitlam coming away with the 11-8 win. So they're now up 2-0. Game 3 and possibly the deciding game going tomorrow night. Then over to Rocky Mountain Lacrosse League in Alberta. Their finals actually got started, looks like last weekend here. Game 1 and 2 are Saturday. Raiders defeated the Miners 14-8. Then they took game 2 10-5 to take a 2-0 lead in the best of 7 series. But game 3, which was Friday, the Edmonton Miners came back with a 12-7 win to make that a 2-1 series. And let's see here, game 4, I guess it would be, goes Wednesday night.
Nice. All right, over in Ontario, we have the finals going on in their best of 7, and it's Mimico against Orangeville. And like we've said before many times, Orangeville has had a chip on their shoulder all year, right down to it looked like Toronto was going to give them a run, so we found something to go at Toronto, and they eliminated Toronto. But Mimico and Orangeville, and game 1 happened Wednesday night, and Orangeville took care of that one, 12-9 over in Orangeville. These games are on the OJLL YouTube channel if you are interested. So you can catch any and all of these games, including the one after you're done watching us. But so first game was 12-9. Fairly close game overall. It was around midway through the second where Orangeville picked it up and away they went. We head on over to August 2nd, and not as close, and Orangeville won that one 13-9. Again, first period, great, 2-2 after 1. But it was 7-6 after 2, and then Orangeville just put it in another gear in third, scoring 6 times, and that was all she wrote in that game. Again, big names in that. Joey Spallina had a huge game. Boy Horseman, also another big game. These are names you're going to hear a lot of over the next little while as they move their way up. Tonight, as we speak, after 2 periods, Mimico is actually beating Orangeville 7-5 over in Orangeville. It was 4-4 after 1. Mimico put together a nice 3-goal run in second, and it's a 7-5 right now, heading into the third period. So stick around, guys. This is going to be an interesting series, I think. I don't think this is going to be one of those 4-gamers. But just so everybody knows, the next game is Tuesday over in Mimico Arena, 8 p.m. Thursday in Orangeville, if necessary. And Saturday would be game 6 in Mimico, if necessary. And if they need a game 7, it will be in Orangeville next Sunday night at 7 p.m. at the Tony Rose Arena. So that one's going to be a huge series. Great lacrosse. Always, always, always never disappoints. And remember, this is the future. These are a lot of guys you're going to see in the draft and coming through training camps in a couple of months' time. So we have seen a lot of guys over the last number of years who have made these draft classes look spectacular over the last 4 or 5 years, especially. Thinking back to the Teets and Petersons and those, that's just going back 4 or 5 years ago, 6 years ago. So these guys were just getting into the programs at that point. So, boy, these systems are just spectacular. And I love seeing Rocky Mountain jumping up now as well to be a force. So that just means that all points of the country here in Canada are being taken advantage of. And again, who are the winners? We are. As fans, we're going to see the best lacrosse around. So, moving on over, the Ontario Series Lacrosse Senior B started their finals last night. And Brooklyn went over into Six Nations into the ILA, and they took game 1, 13-10. Another one where it was 4-4 after 1. But in the second period, Brooklyn just put it together. Eddie Renault had a huge game. He had four goals in this game. And he had 3 of them in the second period alone. Sam Leclerc, another big game for Six Nations. He had a couple of goals there. Another name to listen out for is Zach Kerrigan. He had a couple of goals in this game as well, and Christian Watts. But a big 7-goal second period. It was 11-7 after that, and then they stayed the course in period 3 with a much more defensive showing. Dustin Hill had a good night in net for the Six Nations Rivermen. After the game, Joe Hiltz was able to award a couple of the players their awards. The Six Nations Chiefs won the best goals against average, so they got their award there. And Jacob Kranz also won the Defensive Player of the Year for OSL, and he was able to get his award. Pictures are on my article at the OSL website. And looking ahead, Game 3 of the best of 5 will be next Friday night over at the ILA in Six Nations. And if a Game 4 is needed, it will be at the Iroquois Park Sports Complex in Whitby, August the 11th, Sunday, at 7:30 p.m. So stick around for that. And that will cover Ontario Series. Remember, the winner will be going to the President's Cup. So a lot on the line for this one, as well as bragging rights. And these two teams already have a history, a big history. So it's going to be interesting lacrosse. Just before we move into Senior A, just a reminder that part of the show is brought to you by Philly Sports Trips.
If you're a Philly sports fan and you want to travel with your favorite team, then travel with the best. If you want to travel with the pros, then go to phillysportstrips.com. Philly Sports Trips features premium travel and tailgating experiences for the best fans ever, the Philadelphia sports fan. Philly Sports Trips has self-travel packages and full travel packages available with round-trip flights for Phillies, Eagles, Flyers, Sixers, and even the Union. They even offer day trips for more local games. Go to phillysportstrips.com, sign up immediately, and tell them EOP sent you. Do not forget, Philly Sports Trips has all the away trips for the Eagles' upcoming 2024 season, including the Brazil trip week 1. Jump on it now before you lose out on all these great opportunities. Go to phillysportstrips.com and don't miss the next great Philly sports moment.
There's some great trips on there, so if to try and get onto that site and get yourself booked, because they're going quickly, and you don't want to be saying, "Gee, I should have." All right, why don't we head on over to the Western Lacrosse Association, Mike, and we're into playoffs finally.
Yeah.
It only took a while, but actually, before we get there, I've been saving the graphic, guys. Sorry. I've been saving it.
Yeah, he's been holding on to that.
And there you go. First perfect season in WLA history, 18-0. Victoria Shamrocks, congratulations. Had to.
Yeah.
Even got our cap to match, But yeah, so we're ready to rock and roll. I believe it starts on Tuesday, does it not, Mike?
Yeah, I'm just gonna rattle off the. I don't know if we went off before the 2 Sunday games last week finished, but obviously the Shamrocks remained perfect, beating the Thunder 10-8, and then Nanaimo effectively ended Burnaby's season as well as their own. 13-9 was the final. Basically,
Skinny Dog was so sad about that. He picked a tie. Yeah, he lost his shirt and his glasses.
Yeah, but four games this week to finish up. Big one on Monday in Maple Ridge. The Berards taking on the New West Salmon Bellies. And Maple Ridge comes up with a 15-11 win, and I believe they actually swept New Westminster this season, all 3 games, surprisingly. So Ryan Jones, 3 goals, 6 assists. Dylan McIntosh, 3 and 4. Marcus Klarich and Reese Porteous had 2 and 3 each. Garrett Winter had a pair of goals. Brandon Humphrey, 48 saves in the win for Maple Ridge. New West got 2 goals, 4 assists from Will Malcolm. Adam Charlambides had a hat trick and 3 assists. Lucas Nielsen, 3 and 1. Justin Getty and Neil Tyak both saw time in net, combining to make 39 saves in the losing effort. And with the win, Maple Ridge Is that the one they jumped? I think they jumped from 5th to 2nd place
Yeah,
with
That's how
that
much of a
win.
logjam it was.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, it was a mess.
yeah. So, then move to Tuesday.
Tuesday, yeah,
That's,
that was my game, I believe.
yeah.
Yeah, because Maple Ridge had back-to-back nights, and it came away with another victory, 7-5 in a low-scoring affair with Nanaimo. Nanaimo looking a bit to be spoilers there, but wasn't able to do it, and that brought Maple Ridge to a 9-9 record, and I believe this one was the one that clinched them second place.
Second place for them.
And gave them home floor advantage in the first round, which is great to see because, I mean, you look at the past couple of years with Maple Ridge where they really, really struggled. It's nice to see them have a really good year. But yeah, in this game, again, a low-scoring affair. 3 assists by Ryan Jones. Adam Kennedy had a goal and an assist. A pair of goals by Reese Porteous. A goal and an assist by Declan Fitzpatrick. And Brandon Humphrey again. I mean, outstanding season so far. 41 of 56 shots in the win. For the Timbermen, Zach Mans had a goal and 3 assists. Taylor Clark, 2 goals and 2 assists. Lucas Olsen had a pair of assists. John Phillips, a couple goals, but just wasn't enough. And really, what I think is fair to say has been a disappointing season for Nanaimo. Then moving into, I guess it would be Wednesday. Again, I think this one, Langley picked up a 13-9 win over Burnaby. So this one would have been, I'm just trying to check. Yeah, this would have locked in then Langley for their playoff spot. Sorry, just give me a second here. Really, the big story has been with the Thunder is they've been playing with 17-year-old Caleb Conn, in goal. And he's been lights out since they've started him. And he had 40 of 49 saves in the win. Chase Scanlon, the hat trick, and 4 assists for 7 points. Connor Robinson, again, has kind of found his groove with a hat trick and 2 assists. Clay Scanlon, 2 goals, 2 assists. For Burnaby, they got hat tricks out of Stuart Phillips and Jacob Dunbar. Pair of goals by Ben McDonald, and Chayton Hedman got the start in goal over Alex Bouquet, and he stopped 43 of 56 shots in the loss.
All right. And then Thursday we had the Shamrocks with their next victory.
Yes, right. Record-setting victory. So
the record-setting victory, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they beat New Westminster 11-5, and this actually
That's a tone for the playoffs.
Yeah, this not only did this cap off an 18-0 season, first perfect season in WLA history, it actually dropped New West to the 4th seed. Langley actually by virtue of that tie game coming in handy. They actually leapfrogged the Salmon Bellies for 3rd place in the standings. Victoria outscoring New West 3-0 in the 3rd period to kind of put the game away. Casey Wilson had a hat trick. Matthew Gauthier, 2 goals and an assist. Marshall King had a goal and 2 assists. Jesse King had 3 assists. Clark Peterson, 4 assists. Patrick Dodds, a couple of assists. Chris Origlieri, 39 saves. Origlieri was actually named to the WLA first team as the goalie. So congrats to him. For New West, not much. Mike Messenger had a goal and an assist. Adam Charlambides was held to just 3 assists. Will Malcolm was held to just 2 assists. Still won the points title by a mile. Tyson Gibson had a pair of goals. Justin Getty, 38 saves in the loss. So New West finishes 8-10 They will be the number 4 seed, and they'll get to do it all over again with Victoria in a best of 5.
Yeah, and it all begins Tuesday.
Yep. And Shawn will be covering he'll be recapping all the games with the Berards and the Thunder, and I will be handling the Shamrocks and the Salmon Bellies.
Alrighty. Moving eastward, we're just finishing our abbreviated seems to be semifinals. Six Nations actually just finished their series this evening with a 4-game sweep of Coburg. Now, again, like I'd mentioned last week, more than not, these games were very winnable for Coburg, but for a few things here and there. And the last game had a couple of goals called back that, But overall, Coburg really put together a decent series against an NLL All-Star team in Six Nations. Looking back from last Sunday, it was 13-7, Six Nations beating Coburg. But the 2 games since then, it was 10-8 for Six Nations, in which the final 2 goals were scored inside 2 minutes. It was 8-8. And for a good chunk of that game, Coburg had the lead. But again, you're trying to stop a juggernaut Six Nations team. Now, for everybody who thinks that they're just going to walk over everybody, Coburg held them to 10 goals. Coburg, in the next game, lost in overtime 7-6. So they held them to 7 goals. Now, remember this lineup. We've gone through it over and over and over again, which is just you sit there and go, wow. 7 goals. Stephen Orleman in net had a sensational series. There's only so many saves he's going to make, right? Just offense is, at times sporadic. And then tonight, this game was back and forth for a good chunk of it. And then midway through the second period, Six Nations put together a run of about 4 goals, whatever. They scored 7 in the second. It was 2-2 after 1. Then it was 9-6 after 2, and this thing finished 12-9 for the elimination game. Should Coburg be holding their heads? No. They played a darn good series. I've said it a number of years. I like the grit on that team. I think they're a piece or two away from really making some noise. Problem is, with the have and have-nots, Coburg, of course, doesn't draw many fans. They don't have that ready money to draw all the extra free agents, so to speak. So being so close to Peterborough, basically the ones who want to play MSL who didn't make the Peterborough team can scoot on down the highway and 20 minutes later be playing in Coburg. And unfortunately, we did have a Curtis Conley sighting tonight. He got a goal in tonight's game. He hadn't played most of the summer. So
nice.
Yeah, that was the first thing that popped out to me tonight. Was it Conley got the first goal? So, a lot of up-and-comers, David Anderson, Gareth Hay, who we've heard a lot about through ALL and Senior B, as well as here at Senior A. So getting plenty of playing time. Brock Haley, another one, who's been looking great this summer. So I look forward to big things from them over the next couple of years. Remember, they knocked Oakville off their perch. So, they're a pretty solid team. And Stephen Orleman's got a chip on his shoulder from basically not playing last year, that he wants to show that he is good enough to be playing. So, trying to erase doubters. Peterborough, on the other hand, was coming in as the underdog in this series to Brooklyn. But, you peak at the right time. Peterborough had a great end to their season. Everything was coming together. And Holden Catone's looked terrific. Joe Resitaritz has looked very good. Withers, of course. Colton Armstrong. The list goes on and on and on. Well, they start out their series on Tuesday, and Peterborough came into Brooklyn and took out a 14-10 victory. Very close first period, a lot of scoring, 6-6 after one. But the second period seems to be Brooklyn's downfall. And Peterborough was able to put 5 up, only give up 2. There's your difference. And basically clamped down in the third and won 14-10 in game 1. Game 2 out in Peterborough was a goaltending display, and Doug Buckham was in net. And, Brooklyn, with that powerful lineup, only scored 4 goals. They were held silent in the second. Again, a second period collapse for Brooklyn. 3 goals for Six Nations. There's your difference. 2-2 after 1, 5-2 after 2, 9-4 is your final. 2 high-powered offenses, 9-4.
Wow.
But I'm telling you, the boiling points have hit in this series. I was at last night's game, and it was a fun game to be at. Number one, the OLA Festival was in Brooklyn as well, so you had a lot of youth in there, a lot of exuberance, and big crowd for the Iroquois Park Sports Complex. It was great, and lots of energy in there. Lots of Peterborough fans because it was not a far drive from Peterborough to Whitby. And boy, oh boy, this didn't disappoint. Peterborough got up 5-3 in the first. Owen Hiltz was your big scorer, a couple of goals in the first. He had 4 overall on the day. Thomas Hogarth had another big day. Rob Hellier setting up play after play after play. Also, Turner Evans, I believe, had 3 goals and 6 assists in this game. Just huge games. Tanner Cook had a big game for Brooklyn, but his name will come up again. Keep that in your back pocket. Anyways, it was 2-2 in the second period, much more defensive thing. That first period, chip on the shoulder was an understatement. There was 13 penalties, a couple of fights, and it's spilled over. It's boiled over. Just an absolute gong show from word go. Again, more of a defensive struggle in the second where they scored 2 each, and it was 7-5 heading into the third period. I got NLL on my mind. Sorry, guys. In the third period, it looked like Peterborough was going to run away with this thing. It was 11-7, and there was merely 2.5 minutes left in the game. One would basically say, it's time to go and get our car in the parking lot. Well, you would have missed everything. Connor Kiernan scores with 2:22 left. A minute later, Tanner Cook scores. Well, Sean Wesley scores a minute after that. So with 35 seconds left, it is now an 11-10 game. Enter Tanner Cook with a blast from the outside that caught the corner with 11 seconds left. And they won the faceoff. Call a timeout. Couldn't do anything with it. We go into overtime. Chippy. Big scrum in a corner. Tanner Cook comes flying on in, knocks Colton Armstrong on his butt. He gets nailed for charging because Armstrong had to be helped off. By the way, just a side footnote, Landon Kells was in net for Peterborough. On that 11th goal, he twisted his ankle or got hurt somehow, and he had to leave the game. So Doug Buckham came in for the overtime cold, just to add to the fun. On that ensuing power play that Tanner Cook was in 2 minutes for charging, Austin Hazen fired a shot from in close that caught the far corner, and Peterborough is your winner and take a stranglehold of 3-0 in this series with a 12-11 overtime victory. What a game. Was it classic, masterful lacrosse? Hell no. Was it exciting? Oh, yes. Is it worth your $10? Oh, yes. 15, sorry, it's playoff time. So, yeah. So, they play next on Thursday over at Memorial Center in Peterborough. And let's see if Peterborough pulls off the sweep. By the way, neither Catoni brother was playing in this game, and Holden has been a spark plug in every one of the first couple of games. So that was a huge loss for Peterborough in that game. And Owen Hilt stepped up. And Turner Evans stepped up. And Thomas Hogarth stepped up. And Joe Resitera stepped up. And Rob Hellier stepped up. It's not another all-star team. So I'm starting to sense the Peterborough Six Nations rematch from last year. Only Peterborough with a little more of a chip on their shoulder since they lost big to Six Nations last year. A little more to prove with a younger team. But this could be interesting. So Thursday is the next game. If need be, it'll be Saturday over at the Iroquois Park in Whitby for Game 5, if necessary. Big goings on in MSL. Anyways, before we move into the PLL, just a reminder, this part of the show is brought to you by Dolan's.
When you're staying local and you want to watch a great game or just hang out with some great people, go to Dolan's Bar at 24 East Sellers Ave in Ridley Park, right off I-95 south of the Philadelphia airport. For over 65 years, Dolan's has thrived because of one reason: the amazing people of Philadelphia. Great music, great times, memorabilia, giveaways, great drinks, and great food. You never know when a former Philly sports icon walks through that door. You go to Dolan's at 24 East Sellers Ave, Ridley Park in the 19078. Tell PJ that EOP sent you. Go to dolansbar.com or follow them on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok.
All right, now we head on over to the PLL, and well, before we do any of that stuff, we got to get the pain out of the way. And that pain, of course, is our weekly pick'ems. If you're trying to get your next house because of us, well,
just don't do it.
Be homeless. And masterful 2-2 by 4 of us. And Mike, again, swinging for fences, 1-3. We look at the stat; they haven't changed. 19-13 for me. Sean's on my heels at 18-14. Pat's on his heels at 17-15. Eduardo is sitting at 500 at 16-16. And Mike is sitting there in the first one to hit 20 on the other side. 12-20 for me. Mike's looking to have 2 perfect weeks and finish off this season as
he's waiting for the dispersal draft.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. But we go on. Hey, look at that. Dave is with us. Dave, how you doing?
Hey, Dave.
Great to have you with us.
Tuning in.
Thank you for following along, playing along, doing everything with us. Appreciate it. Oh, off we go. And our first game was a nice little, well, the home team, the Maryland Whipsnakes. And they had the Philly Waterdogs, who was in a must-win situation. And, well, they pulled out another memorable event.
Another egg.
Yeah.
Huge one. And,
Yeah.
team just absolutely is baffling to me because the more they need it, the less they give. They could be the Toronto Maple Leafs.
See, it seems like it's Whipsnakes win their opener, homecoming weekend, 12-6.
Oh, Dave, you're very wishful. Mike has a track record he's living up to.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get dispersed soon enough. It's was much worse than the final score looks. Maryland scored the first 11 goals, led 11-0 into the third quarter, before Waterdogs decided they wanted to actually play. They did go on a 6-goal run of their own. They're I guess I shouldn't say that because there was a little hope, kind of, third goal.
Kind of.
There was. No, because if you watch, they rattled off 6 straight, and they had the broadcast team thinking, hey, if you get a couple of 2-pointers, now you're back in this game, and credit to Brendan Krebs, Whipsnay's goalie because he stoned Ethan Walker and I believe it was McArdle on the doorstep twice. They made 2 big saves, and that was after the Waterdogs had cut it to 11-6. So, they make those goals, and suddenly you got a 3-point game, and you've got probably about 8-9 minutes left to play.
But we got the same argument that I had last week. You have a must-win game, and you play 12 minutes out of 48. Really?
Yeah. No, I won't. I won't disagree on that. So,
I went off on it last week. To just, this just shows that we're talking about character. You have a must-win game, and you show 12 minutes of play.
Like, this is just a whole new level. Like, we kept saying, like, this Philly team can't finish. Well, they didn't even start, let alone finish in this game.
Yeah.
No, but they let their tempers get the best of them in the first half. And really, when you need to get your nose to the grindstone, you can't be doing any extracurricular activity. And everything in that book to say what you shouldn't do, they ticked off every single box. And then they tried to play a game after that. And, that's just not happening.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely the frustration of a season that could have been but wasn't.
Yeah.
Zach Courier, pair of goals for the Waterdogs. Michael Sowers had a pair of goals. Kieran McArdle, just 2 assists. Matt DeLuca, 12 saves in net in place of Dylan Ward. For Maryland, Colin Heacock and Zed Williams both had hat tricks. TJ Malone, 4 assists. Matt Rambo, a pair of goals. Joe Nardella, 14 of 21 on faceoffs, and Brendan Krebs, 19 saves. That's career high for him. So Maryland moves up to they even their record at 4-4, and the Waterdogs fall to 1-7. They actually needed a couple other teams to win or lose to officially eliminate them, which we'll get to shortly.
Right.
One of those would be the second game of Saturday, which was the Denver Outlaws.
Another
awful blowout. 18-5 over the California Redwoods. Denver wins. This game was actually called with about a little over 9.5 minutes left in the fourth quarter due to lightning.
Mercifully, I guess. God was acting.
Yeah.
Yeah. The PLL did consult with the head coaches as well as meteorologists, but I believe the rule is as long as 7 minutes have been played through the third quarter, they can call a game due to weather if needed. So they did just that here. For the Redwoods, not much to speak of. They fall to 2-6 on the year. Rob Pennell, a pair of goals. They got goals from Charlie Bertrand, Ryder Garnsey, and Nakai Montgomery. And Cole Kierst had a pair of assists. T.D. Erlin, 16 and 19 on faceoffs. But Chase Erlin and Jack Kelly combined to make a whopping 6 saves in net on the game. So for the Outlaws, they're starting to heat up as well. Brennan O'Neill, 2 goals, 2 assists. Justin Anderson had 2 goals and a 2-point goal. Graham Bundy Jr., another 2 2-point goals. Sam Hanley had a hat trick. Eric Law, a goal and 2 assists. And Owen McElroy, 16 saves in the win. And Denver moves up to 4-3 on the year. And next weekend is their homecoming. So they will have 2 games.
Right. All right. That was a spectacular first day, wasn't it? So,
Yeah.
We've been lucky so far.
If only someone hadn't picked Redwoods, we might have actually had our first perfect day of PLL play in our pick'ems.
Could you
wonder who wrecked that?
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, the next game was probably the classic game of the day, and that was the opening game today, and that was Carolina and the Utah Archers. and you had everything in this game, including a goalie goal.
Yeah, actually, the goal that was kind of wild, now, wasn't it? Right after the start of the game, Blaze Reardon makes a save, picks up the ball, goes down the field, scores. Didn't even pass, didn't even kind of pinch in, just kind of made the save, just let one rip, and 1-0 Carolina. And Carolina actually was up 4-0, but Utah just kind of chipped away, or sorry, 4-0. Yeah, then Utah kind of chipped away. It was 6-4 after the first quarter. Utah made a little bit of a comeback, make it 9-8 at the half. And then, they just back and forth through the second half until you get to the fourth quarter. And with the tied 14-14, Ty Kurtz found the back of the net with about 4.5 left to play, and that held up as the game winner.
This is, again, a pretty amazing game just with that kind of firepower. But, with Reardon getting hurt, that was a huge thing, too.
Yeah.
That changed the whole dynamic of everything. And yet Chaos still figured out a way to win. They could easily fold it.
Yeah, especially against a team like the Archers. We'll get to the standings, but just, that's a big win for the Chaos. And now, 1 through 3 now in that West division is just a mess.
Half game.
Yeah, it's a mess.
It's a half game, and it's only because Denver and the last 2 weeks are Denver and then Salt Lake City. So each of those teams, the Outlaws and the Archers, will have their homecoming weekend. I'm sure Archers probably wished it was a little sooner.
Yeah,
because now they could be looking at needing to sweep, just to win their conference and get a first round bye.
Yeah, but Josh Burns had 5 points for the Chaos. Brian Meniscus, 4 points, 2 goals, and 2 assists. Ross Scott, had the hat trick. Shane Knobloch, pair of goals from Kyle Jackson. But like you're mentioning, even that firepower of the Archers. Tom Schreiber had a hat trick. Connor Fields had a hat trick. Mac O'Keefe had a hat trick. Trey LeClaire had a hat trick. Yet they still couldn't get done in really a game that could have gone either way.
Yeah. Well, we moved to the last game of the day, and this one was a bizarre, to put it lightly, it was a bizarre game. First off, it was delayed a while because of weather. And then when they finally did start playing, every one of us picked the Cannons for a reason, right? They're the class of the East with Atlas. They've been on a roll, three wins coming into this game. If they win, they have first place in the conference. And Maryland starts out with Colin Heacock getting a goal, but an absolute bomb. And I mean this one brought more rain. This than by Chris Islanian. Now remember, Boston also leads by a long margin of 2-point goals in the PLL, so they're always dangerous from way outside. Mike Janachuk, he ties the game up. Ryan Drenner with a beauty off of Asher Nolting, just thread the needle pass. Really, I don't know anybody who can do it better than Asher Nolting. But it's 3-2 for Boston, and all of a sudden, kaboom! Boston closes up shop. The Whipsnakes open up shop, and the Zed Williams show begins. Williams gets his first one off a chorus pass. Next one is TJ Malone. Williams again. Poitras gets a goal at 6-3. It's not over yet. Matt Rambo, he adds it to it. We haven't heard much of him, but he's clutch. And Zed Williams with another goal, and this one was a buzzer beater, right with 1 second left in the quarter, and it's 8-3 for Maryland after one. Well, you would think that would be enough to wake Boston up, And, well, Boston got a goal. Matt Campbell made it 8-4. And then the show began again. And at one point, it was 14-4 for Maryland. Yes, 14-4. Remember the final score, right? It was 16-14, right? Yeah, that will explain the rest of this mess. Boston woke up with 10 seconds left in the half. And Ryan Drenner scored, and then another buzzer beater, this time by Connor Kirst, at a beauty, and they had to review it to make sure it was under the gun there, and it was. It was about at 0.2 of a second that was left. Since we're in the Olympics, maybe 2 100ths of a second. We can go by, probably 3 or 4 numbers if you want. But it was just before the horn. And it was 16-14 at the half. Well, nothing like resting on our laurels. Pat Cavanaugh got a goal. Adam Buttress got another goal. And then the Boston Cannon show began as, I don't know if Maryland just ran out of gas or they were so busy just saying, we're so far ahead, we're just going to play defense. That didn't work over. It's like prevent defense in NFL football. That stands for preventing the win. Well, prevent defense.
Gary's internet's giving out.
Yeah, looks like Rogers is preventing him from.
Preventing him from give us a recap.
From getting the recaps done. Try to pick up.
Kirst got a pair of goals near the end of the.
Yeah, no, I think we have to pick up Mike.
Yeah, I'm working on it here.
I can jump in here too. I think it's in the fourth quarter.
Is that where he was?
Yeah, I think at the end of the third quarter it was Maryland 15, Boston 9, because Connor Kirst scored with a minute left, and then 4 more goals by the Cannons to start the fourth quarter as Maryland kind of sat back. Alexander Vivardo, Chris Aslania, and Pat Cavanaugh, and then Verdarno again made it now 15-13. So they really kind of brought down that 10-goal gap. Matt Rambo scored with 2 minutes and 33 seconds left, make a 3-goal game. Asher Nolting again scored a buck, 34 left, and get Boston within 2, but couldn't find that equalizer. I mean, it was at that point a 1-possession game, really.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, another must-win for the Whipsnakes too, as they're kind of that battle for that last playoff spot. To come away with 2 wins in their homecoming is huge.
Yeah, and just looking at the standings now, in the East, you've got the Atlas at 6-2. You've got the Cannons at 6-3. So they just have 1 game remaining. I'm not sure whether it's next week or the following week. Maryland is now 5-4, and then Philly at 1-7, and then over in the West, you've got the Archers, Utah still leading. They're at 4-3. Denver tied with them at 4-3, and remember, next weekend is Denver's homecoming, so they have 2 home games, and then the following week is Salt Lake City, so that's the Archers homecoming, the last weekend of the regular season. So both of them still have their double headers to play.
Hi, you missed me? I'm back.
Yeah, we were just saying Rogers was playing a prevent defense on you.
Yeah.
Absolutely, they were. My God, and they didn't let anything go. If the Argos had this good a defense, they would have won tonight. Right, they lost.
They lost that game? Are you serious?
They did. They did. They worked very hard to lose these things, and they lost. Yeah, 27-23.
Jeez.
Another
Oh
one
my
of these
God.
first half things, and then they don't go in the second half, kind of like this game here, right? But yeah,
Yeah, so
you guys get the rest of the game.
we
Yeah.
finished up, and
We
we're
finished
just
it up for
finishing
you.
up the standings
Thanks.
here. Carolina's a half game back of Utah and Denver at 4-4, and then California is at 2-6, and it's pretty much going to be must win for California to try to get to a playoff spot. But
I guess should we kind of
Looking
remind
tough.
people how the playoffs work too? Because I know PLL kind of brought that out this week as well.
yeah,
'Cause
yeah. So it's a little odd. I don't know why. It almost makes you wonder why they have conferences.
I asked that question this week too because it doesn't make
Well,
any sense. the way
the
they're
thing
doing
that's weird, the thing that's interesting though is if you look at the way it sits now, you'll get Atlas on a bye and the Archers on a bye, but the Boston Cannons, who have a better record than the Archers, will not have a bye into the first round.
Yeah, that's
That's
definitely
kind of interesting.
odd. Yeah, because the
yeah.
first and second seeds will be the conference winners, and
which is
then
all the
next-
conferences are good for because then they seed. By the way, the thing is 1-8, right?
And that's the thing, a lesser team
Three,
could
three.
get a bye out of the first round because of it.
Yeah, so you could actually be fourth in all essence.
Yeah, overall,
And,
yeah.
have a bye, which makes even no less sense than never mind.
But yeah, basically that's how it works. Like the first place in each conference gets the bye in the first round, then they basically reseed 3 through 6, if I believe overall. Yeah.
And then they play, and the better record of the two conferences is seed 1, and the worst record of the two conference leaders is seed 2, regardless where they sit.
Yeah.
Anywhere against anything else, which again is weird. Anyways, just before we wrap up tonight, I just want to remind everybody that this part of the show is brought to you by Cherry Injury. While I'm here, allow me to play it.
If you get hurt at work, in a motor vehicle accident, personal injury, or affected by criminal law, you call David R. Cherry of the Cherry Firm. Cherry Law Firm is here to fight for you and get what you deserve. Cherry Injury Law is a dedicated, well-established personal injury law firm built on the promise of aiding the seriously injured throughout the state of Pennsylvania. If you have been seriously injured in the state of PA by the negligence of another, and if you have questions for a Westchester or media personal injury attorney, please don't hesitate to call. Call 610-565-0300 or go to cherryinjurylaw.com. Let David R. Cherry fight for your right. And again, that number is 610-565-0300 or go to cherryinjurylaw.com.
Absolutely. Just a reminder to everybody that we are on Facebook, we are on Twitter, we are on Instagram, we are on Thread, we are on YouTube. Please follow along. Please subscribe. Please share with your friends. We are your Costco of lacrosse. We are your one-stop shop for everything you need, and it doesn't make a difference which, whether it's field, whether it's box, whether it's NCAA, whether it's NLL, whether it's summer ball, whether it's winter ball, whether it is some of the other stuff that's going on in some of the other tournaments. We have it all covered for you. We have people there to cover it, and we have all the information correct and up to date. So please pass that information along. We thank you. It is our privilege, as always, to give you all the information as we get it, with our fingers on the pulse of the situation, as always. Last words, guys. Shawn, let's start with you this week.
Yeah, just kind of looking forward to the WLA playoffs, and a quick update from the IIJL. The United States has defeated Australia 21-3. So looking forward to that tournament too. I know it's a bit of a controversial tournament, but you know what? It gives these kids exposure, which is great.
Absolutely. Mike, last words to you.
I'm just going to rattle off next weekend in the PLL. It's Denver's homecoming. Friday, 8 p.m. The Outlaws take on Maryland, so that should be a big game. And then 10:30 p.m., not so big a game. The Waterdogs and the Redwoods. I have to imagine that a Waterdogs win would pretty much eliminate both teams. Well, the Waterdogs are already eliminated, but California would be eliminated with a loss. And then Saturday, 2:30 on ABC, Archers and Atlas. That should be a
good one.
That should be a big one, yeah.
And that'll be, again, we're talking about the mess in the West there. One win, one loss is going to probably drop you from first to third or whatever, third to first. And then the night game Saturday, 7 p.m., Denver and Carolina. And that's on ESPN2. So both Saturday games are on linear networks, ABC at 2:30, ESPN2 at 7. Both games with big implications. 3 games with big implications. And one for the
One
basement.
for elimination.
Yeah.
And that will basically put us all into what the playoffs will look for, which kind of makes an anticlimactic week 10. But hey, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But again, we want to thank everybody, as we do every week, for being with us. I can't wait to see what happens on Thursday in Peterborough and for the MSL finals to start. Also, we will have by next week's show, we should have a champion crowned in Ontario Series Lacrosse Senior B, which will be interesting as well. So stick with us in all this. We'll have all the news, all the recaps, all the articles for you as they happen. So for Shawn Slaght over in Moose Jaw, for Muffler Mike over in Connecticut, I'm Gary Groob in Toronto, wishing you the best of weeks. Remember, always keep your stick in your hand. And until next week, Sunday night at 9, like always, we'll see you then. Take care.